What's up, family? I just jumped in for a few minutes to talk about what I've titled the Deion dilemma. As many of you know, you've been looking at the news, it's probably been blowing up that Deion Sanders has left the HBCU Jackson State to take the head coaching job at Colorado University. Now, when I first heard this, it just immediately hit me with the continuous question that we ask ourselves as Black people as we share our Black excellence with the world. Do we build ours to show our collective greatness, or do we build theirs to fight for equity and acceptance? What's the better choice? Right, Deion, when he first went to Jackson State, he rolled out this idea that he wanted to make Jackson State as an HBCUs and encourage other HBCUs to become just as competitive, that he saw the day where HBCUs could play their way into and be good enough to compete for a national championship. And that was his goal for Jackson State. Now, he had been there for 3 years. Jackson State is playing in a championship game, not the national championship game, but a championship game coming up. Over his tenure, his 3 years there, they went 27 wins and 5 losses. And it looks like we all are buying. Sponsors are buying into. Big name companies are buying into this idea that HBCUs can become competitive, not on the side stage, but on the main stage. And then all of a sudden, these whispers start to come out that Deion is up for the head coaching job at Colorado University. And we start to weigh our opinions. Should he stay? To collectively build a Black university, HBCU, up to be on the main stages of this football, in football, or should he go and reap the rewards of his hard work of bringing Jackson State as far as he should go, as far as they have gone, and does he go and take this job at Colorado? The reason why I believe this is a dilemma, because it does not only show up in the lives of people like Deion Sanders. It shows up in the lives of you and me. Once your excellence has gotten to a certain level, do you stay in the neighborhood that is predominantly African American and has some challenges? Or do you move to a majority white neighborhood or other neighborhood that gives you some different luxuries or safeties or comforts? Do we stay at certain companies because they are Black owned or they are bent to a Black population, or do we leave to go? Do we offer our products and our services as entrepreneurs to majority Black individuals, or do we leave and go? It's a dilemma. And so I just decided to put it out on Instagram and engage with some of you on the platform to just figure out where we are in this tension. I do not believe that there is a right or wrong answer. I do not believe that there is a right or wrong approach. But what I do believe is the approach that we've taken for 100 years, well, not for 100 years, the approach that we have been persuaded into taking, which is integration, which is fighting for equity, which is fighting for a place in their companies, fighting for a place at their university. I don't believe it's worked. I don't believe it's worked for us as a culture. It might have worked for some people as individuals. It might have worked on a level to give us symbolism that we can point to one or two individuals at the top, but I don't believe it's worked collectively for us as a culture. And what I mean collectively for us as a culture, I don't believe the infiltration method has allowed us to build sustaining structures and systems of success within our own communities and within our own culture. I believe it has provided us it has provided us the opportunity to be aspirational and point at people and tell our children and our families, one day that can be you. You can reach high up in their thing instead of taking the time to build up your own thing. So I asked this question, and some of you gave some very great responses. I'll start with my guy, Jordan W. Carter on Instagram. And what he said was, I don't think he did wrong. HBCUs are violent to black kids in different ways than PWIs, because American colleges in general aren't really that supportive of black folks. So it's really a pick your poison situation. And you know what, Jordan? I hear you. I hear you in the pick your poison. The only question for me is, why do we keep picking their poison? No, HBCUs aren't perfect. No, the colleges aren't perfect. No, the programming that we receive in colleges or the curriculum that we receive in colleges are perfect. No, not everybody in every university that we're going to walk into is going to treat us the right way. No, not even HBCUs are built on equity, even for black people. We have some that entertain the premier black people in the country. We have some who work with those who are underserved. No, we have to figure that out. But at the same time where we have to figure that out, and there's no excuse for us not having it figured out, I believe that many times we use that as an excuse to go pick their poison. Now, Jordan, I'm not saying you're wrong, but what I'm saying is we give, I believe, more leniency to the system that has worked against us and how we engage and how we operate with it than we do leniency for the colleges, the businesses, and everything that are working for us. I mean, you'll hear it, even myself. I had to get to a point where I was just like, man, I need to stop saying that. You'll hear it in our frustration with black businesses. We can walk into Target, we can walk into something, we can walk into Walmart, and we just get used to their bad customer service. For those who have had those at those, not just saying those in particular, but as soon as we walk into a black business and we get some bad customer service, I ain't never coming back here. This is why I don't shop with black people. So I do believe this is a pick your poison, but why does it seem like we pick their poison more than we pick ours? Someone else, courageous and bold Leo on Instagram, my man Kylan, said he was always leaving when a better opportunity came. It would have been his alma mater, Florida State University. Like all college coaches, he sold a dream and left as soon as he got a better job. The problem is he sold it as he was there for the betterment of HBCUs. Had he not done that, nobody would have an issue. He did what most coaches do, got the job done, and left for the more high-profile job. Colin, I totally agree with you. And this is what I am upset with the most out of this situation. Don't sell the dream. Don't sell the dream to black kids to believe that you are going to help change the landscape. Don't sell the dream at the expense that other people will see what you have done and say, well, man, look, Deion, if Deion can't stay there, if Primetime ain't staying there, he doesn't need the money. He doesn't need the fame. He's a Super Bowl winner. He's an NFL Hall of Fame. He doesn't need any of that. If he will leave an HBCU to go to a better opportunity, why in the world would I even think about going to one? Now, I know many of us are very informed about HBCUs, and whether Deion leaves or stays will not change our mind whether we will go or whether we will not go. But what about the ones that were watching him as he sold this dream and then he left out to take their opportunity? Let me tell you something. Colorado University did not give Deion Sanders a job because they are gung-ho for diversity. Colorado University gave Deion Sanders a job because they want to win. Colorado University, I watched the press conference. All of a sudden, now that Deion is there, they're redoing their transfer credit policies and procedures so they can get more transfers in, so they can select more players. Oh, not only players, so they can select more students that want to go to a top-ranked football school who want to be at the games. Colorado University did this because it was a win, would they believe, for the football team. It was a win for the bank account. It was a win for recruiting in the student body. And it was a win that makes them look progressive. And if you listen to Deion talk, this is why he said this was the main reason that he went there. He said, 70% of kids playing college football are black anywhere you go. So it's not like I am going to stop pouring into the lives of black kids. But what I am more concerned about, this is Deion's words, is that there were 4 black coaches fired from major programs this year. Somebody needs to fill that void. And Deion, what I would say to you is, yes, 70% of African-American kids playing football, college football, that happens everywhere. But you can't tell me when you walk into that Colorado locker room, when I looked at that video today, there was a lot of kids in there who were not African American. Do we do it for the conscience? Do we do it for the culture? Or do we do it for the corporate part of it? Like Colin says, he was going to leave as soon as another opportunity leave. Like Deion said, in college football, as a coach, you either elevate or you get terminated. So why sell the dream? Because when we sell the dream to our kids, when we sell the dream to one another that black is better, and then we jump off board of that dream, we begin, whether it is intentionally or unintentionally, to make people believe that their ice is colder on the other side. Deion, if you would have just came there to say, I just came here to coach football. I just came here because these were the people who were going to give me an opportunity. I just came here because I want to make a great start at Jackson State. And I don't know what's going to happen then. We would have no problem. But the fact that he came in the door and said, man, I came because HBCUs. I came because we need to get a national spotlight. I came because we can compete on the level of everybody else. I came because people overlooking us and we need to reach up. That's the part that has us wondering, did Deion sell out? It's not the fact that he moved on as a football coach. It's the fact that when he started as the football coach, he became, by choice, his choice, a spokesman for the value of HBCUs and for their right and for his effort to put them on the main stage to compete against all the others. I mean, he had all kinds of coaches coming at him. Nick Saban from Alabama coming at him. He's getting into all these debates. But then when that coach from the SWAC conference tells people that Deion ain't SWAC, and that Deion ain't a part of this, that this ain't where his heritage is, that he's like, we've been doing this for our lives because we love the SWAC, that Deion's not this. And Deion answers back, I am the SWAC. We got to ask ourselves, well, are you really? Are you the SWAC? Or were you in the SWAC because you want to enter in to this entry-level coaching position and you did an amazing job, and now it's time to go on to somewhere else besides the SWAC? Are you really? I think that's fair. So I think that is fair, and us being upset with him that he left for a better job, not because he can't do that as a football coach, but because he was a spokesman for the value of HBCUs. He talked about how the world should regard HBCUs. And he said he was going to show us through Jackson State, and he showed us for 3 years but did he show us enough to make the impact that he said he was going to make at the beginning? The passion strategist chimed in on this. I think there is work to be done in both spaces, and since we've yet to successfully clone ourselves, he had to choose a space to operate in. I would have liked to see him leverage his influence in the HBCU arena a bit longer and further. However, I also understand the principle of being in the boardroom to learn and level up the block. Hopefully, these are his intentions. We have certainly begun to see that shift among Black power players like Jay-Z, Nas, Kevin Hart, Chris Rock, and more. Perhaps the pendulum is finally swinging over into sports. Passion strategist, I want to agree with you so much. But watch this. Jay-Z, Nas, Kevin Hart, Chris Rock were in our faces continuously on their climb up. They were giving us albums every year. They were championing the culture every year. They were giving us comedy specials and becoming staples in our culture on the way up. They were giving it. They were here. They needed us to get them on the way up. But when they got there, how often do you hear from them? How often are they taking the knowledge from the boardroom and bringing it back down to level up the block? How often are they giving, and I understand it, maybe it's not their responsibility. All I am saying is we heard from them a lot more when they were on their way up. But once you get into billionaire status, once you get into there, and that's the problem. Since we don't have accessibility there, do we believe it's their responsibility to bring it back down? I rarely hear from Chris Rock anymore, unless he's selling us something. I rarely hear from Kevin Hart anymore, unless he's selling us something. We have become the consumers for our very own kind. And yes, they're giving back. And yes, they give charity. I am not doubting their heart. What I am saying is when you climb up this social ladder, what it tends to do is make our people get lost up there and only stuck as a symbol, as symbolism. But what happens, right, when we see it, I was listening the other day, and I don't know how far this goes. It was just an interesting perspective. LaRussell, the rapper from Oakland, talks about his interaction with Roc Nation as a company. And he says, I need to talk to Jay-Z, because if Jay-Z's company is doing this, I need to know if he knows about it. And he talks about them giving him a bad deal and trying to snake him on the deal. If he doesn't know about this, he needs to know what his people are doing. But if he does know about this, I just need to be like, all right, cool. I don't know if I want to do business with somebody that does it like that. And he says this mistake in the deal that they offered him, the first offer they put on it, they were $750,000 short on the offer. And he says, well, where's the money? So one of the challenges that we have is when we do get to that stature, when we do get to that place, when we do level up, do we still conduct business the same way these other companies conduct business? The same way those other business leaders conduct business? Or do we conduct business in a way where we are trying to build up our own? That's the question. And so, so here's my thoughts on Deion Sanders. I would have rather him stayed at Jackson State University. The man doesn't want for anything. He has the money. He's been telling his players that for the last 5 days. He's been telling them, I'm not chasing the bag. But what I would never doubt, unless I have proof or evidence or I'm a part of that situation, I would never doubt when God says someone is calling them somewhere. And Deion says God is calling him over to Colorado. And in fact, he gets in front of the Colorado players and says about their athletic director, he did not convince me to come here. He just confirmed what God was doing. I don't argue with that. I don't argue with that. Just from my perspective, I would have loved to see him stay at Jackson State, because this idea of us infiltrating their spaces and getting wins over there to start to get them to think about diversity. Can you tell me where that's happened on a major scale? I'm not talking about where one or two of us get through the door. I'm not talking about, the 50 black people that work at Google. I'm not talking about that. Can you tell us where it has worked for us on a level that it has leveled us up as a culture and as a community? Can you tell us? And I know many of us will have the argument, well, it's not our individual jobs to level up the whole community. We have to worry about our families. And I would say, okay, let me meet you halfway. It's not your individual job to level up your community, but it is your individual job that if you're going to go somewhere and call it infiltrating, that you have the same kind of influence as others who can make power moves over there. That just like they can pull their nephew or their brother or their cousin into the company, just like they can give them a 6-figure job. Can you do that? Nah, what you infiltrate? How you infiltrate? Just like they can weave their way in and they can put ideas on the table that can make their families money for generations, or they can do mergers and acquisitions. They can pull the trigger on stuff. Can you do that? No. Then what are we leveraging? What are we infiltrating? And so we have to start to look at this approach and ask ourselves, is it really working? Because here's what I do believe. Let me give you my opinion on Deion. The way Deion went into that locker room talking at that majority white university in the mountains of Colorado, let me give you my opinion. 2 years, whether he win, loses, or draw, if he keeps that kind of personality, there's going to be a clash between him and the white power structure. Because they will let a black person show off as long as it's bringing them credit, laughter, money, and they can join in on the joke. But when that black person believes that he can come after their power, they're going to let them know, boy, this ain't yours. This is mine. But I'm a Hall of Fame cornerback. I don't care. It's mine. But I'm a Super Bowl. I don't care. It's mine. But I'm prime time. I don't care. It's mine. Because remember, Deion still got bosses there. Athletic director, school president. And I'm not saying everybody at Jackson State was the best to work with. I don't know how Deion's experience was there. And that could have been one of the things that pushed him out the door, that he was trying to make some innovation and they were against it, or all these different things. I'm not saying that. But what I can tell is that Deion is either going to prove me wrong, and he is going to go there and he's going to captivate them so much that they give him power, or he's going to start trying to call shots and they're going to say, you know what? This ain't working. This isn't working. Yeah, I know you prime time. Yeah, I know what you did in NFL, but you don't get to come after our power. You don't get to come after our thing. And so let's just see. Let's keep our heads up and let's keep our eyes open and see. I wish Deion the best. I do wonder what kind of message this has sent people who were looking at his example of going to HBCUs. I do hope that a lot of people don't follow his process of coming into HBCUs and using them as a step stool to other places. Because let's be honest, y'all. Let's be honest. Before he went to Jackson State and started winning, college football was not looking for him. They were not checking for him. Major programs were not checking for him. They didn't want to take the chance on him. A black school took the chance on him, and then he got to step up into that white space. So I hope that there aren't people out there who are looking at Deion's trend and saying to themselves, well, let me go coach at the HBCUs, get my wins up because I know I'm good enough to do that. I can get those kids to do that and let that be my stepping stool to the next level. I hope we're not thinking like that, because that's the problem. We will sell our people a dream just to boost ourselves up to go get their dream, which in their dream, we're still not owners. We're employees. No matter how much money he gets, no matter how much critical acclaim he gets, no matter how much he is, Deion Sanders is an employee of Colorado University, just like he was an employee of Jackson State. But I do believe that there was a difference. I do believe that there was a difference. Don't know all the facts. Don't know everything. But thank you for those who went back and forth with the conversation. And we wish our brother Deion Primetime Sanders the best. But it does hurt on my end to see him leave Jackson State and go to a majority white university in Colorado. We'll talk about this more coming up on the episode of Nuances in the Narrative. Nuance in the Narrative with my guy Tim. We'll give a little more thought to this, but I just wanted to jump on to just give a brief marker of where my mind is about this and interact with some of you to see if you can change it. Before I go, my man Jordan had a great comment where he says here, where, and this was great. I asked Jordan, I think this is a valid point in picking our poison. Do you think there's any benefit to stick with our institutions and their insufficiencies over main white stream culture's insufficiencies? And he says, no, because I'd influence a lot of other black people to overlook the things wrong within the black college complex. One person joining in to coach a JSU football team doesn't change the financial aid, the housing atrocities, and all-around coonery at places like Spelman, Alcorn State, or Grambling. If Prime has spoke out against these inefficiencies at HBCUs as a whole, then that would be dope. But they might have fired him in year one. So it's pick your poison. If I had a much larger payday and black men to mentor there as well, like Prime in Colorado, I'll be making self-sacrifice in the name of blackness to look cool when I want black people to be living at their highest capacity and not being a martyr for the struggle 24/7. I didn't have no reply to that. I was just like, hey, bro, I told him, man, that was a great and well thought through point. Are some of us riding the diversity train because we want to look cool within our blackness? And are we overlooking some of the major issues within our own community that makes it not worth people staying in order to be a part of that because they don't have the power to change those things? That's one big assumption that we're making here, that Deion had power to change stuff at Jackson State University. They could have been looking at him just like any other place, like a PWI. Hey, bro, you just a football coach. Don't come telling us what we do with our dorms and our facilities. Don't come telling us how we teach our kids. You don't know. But Jordan, man, I thought that was a major point, and I am actually going to put that up because, man, you just thought through that thing very well. All right, I'll catch y'all We'll be talking about this more in Nuance in the Narratives during our episode this week. Talk to you later.